What is up, YouTube? This is T-Quentin1 coming at you with another video, and today I'm going to talk to you about Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. The Phantom Menace is considered by many to be one of, if not the most disappointing film of all time, although for the most part people have that opinion of the prequel trilogy in general. But as much as people hate The Phantom Menace, I'd go as far as to say Attack of the Clones is even more hated, and I'm not entirely sure why. Don't get me wrong, this is not a good movie, not by a long shot. But I actually do think it makes a couple improvements over The Phantom Menace. Starting with Ewan McGregor. He really came into his own as young Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, it's almost like they traveled back in time and plucked young Alec Guinness to be in these movies. I can totally see him aging into the character we know from the originals. He's great, and I can safely say that he is by far the best thing in this movie, in my opinion. And the story of the film is divided into two distinct plots, and one of them is actually kind of interesting about Obi-Wan uncovering this big conspiracy and the Jedi Order preparing for war. And while those parts of the film still don't hold a candle to the original trilogy, it is competent enough. And the action scenes, save one, are still some of the lone bright spots here. Just like The Phantom Menace, they are a bit flashier than I think a Star Wars movie needs to be, but they're still fairly well put together. And the villains, like Darth Maul in the previous movie, aren't very fleshed out or all that interesting, but they are kind of cool, particularly the late Christopher Lee. And John Williams still gives this movie a good soundtrack. Oh, and Camino is a cool location, but honestly, that's about it. Now let's get into the flaws. Starting with the biggest one, Anakin. This character is a perfect storm of awful, and he's the main thing that kills this movie, in my opinion. Hayden Christensen's performance is terrible, for one, almost as annoying as Jar Jar, and when he's not whining, he's being absolutely insipid. My God, is it boring. Another thing I hate about Anakin is the way he's written. He's a bad egg from the start, and I hate that. Seeing him turn into Darth Vader would have been actually interesting if there was really a transition. But no, he was just always an asshole, I guess. And his storyline with Padme slows this movie to a crawl. This is the other storyline, and it is awful. Most of their dialogue is laughable, like all the other dialogue in these movies. And speaking of slowing down, the pacing in this film is downright sluggish. It takes forever to get going, and really it's not all that interesting until the final act. And don't get me wrong, it does pick up a little near the end, and that final battle with all the Jedis in that arena is really awesome to see. But it's followed up by probably the most underwhelming lightsaber fight I've ever seen. As I said in my review of The Phantom Menace, the Duel of the Fates scene is probably the only thing in that movie that is awesome. And the final lightsaber duel in this is just sucks. It's hard to really pin down why, but it's not very well lit for one, and it's not overly choreographed like the one in The Phantom Menace, but it kind of just looks like they're just swinging them around, not even hitting each other. Um, so yeah, Attack of the Clones is still a bad movie, although I do think it's slightly better than The Phantom Menace. It's still not good. I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10. It's T-Quentin1 signing out.